Well, as we look at enterprise mobility, we tend to define it as capture and making available information at the point of need. Now, that's a very broad definition. But when we talk about that, we're really talking about using mobile devices, laptops, handhelds, those sorts of things, to enable a workforce that is outside the four walls of an office to do their day jobs and have the information they need at that point in time, so at the point of need, as well as be able to capture information as part of their job. And we also take that broad definition so that it includes not only traditional mobile capabilities, but also starts to bring in some things like RFID and some of the asset tracking, which is another way to capture that information at the point of need. We're also seeing a lot of integration between RFID and mobile technologies too, where you'll get a device that's got both capabilities embedded in it. So it's really about putting information in the hands of the people outside of the office to do the jobs that they need to do. Well, in terms of key technologies enabling enterprise mobility, I think we can look at really three big things. One is the feeds and speeds. So the throughput and the footprints of the networks today are much faster, much broader. The devices themselves are much more capable, higher processor speeds, more memory, better screens, keyboards. So we've got device capabilities. And then it's really the maturation of the software layers on top of that. We have more software capabilities built into those devices, and the tool sets and the platforms on top of that are much more capable as well. Well, in terms of the why now and business enablers, as I mentioned, very much about just the proliferation of smartphones and what that's doing to drive interest and take up in just the base technology, and the fact that the enablers I discussed, device capabilities, network bandwidth, throughput, that sort of stuff, it's sort of a perfect storm of all these things coming together finally. For 4 years now, everybody's been saying, this is the year of mobile. No, this is the year of mobile. No, this is the year of mobile. And I don't think there's ever going to be a this is the year of mobile. It's a continuation of just moving up that curve. But I think we have finally hit a bit of an inflection point on that curve now, where we really do have the things coming together to make it happen, as well as to cause it to happen. I think another thing that's driving it is CIOs are having to react to the fact that all these devices have come in, and now their workforce is running around with these devices with corporate information on those devices, some of which is unsecured, some of which they have no idea what information is on those devices, what happens if a device gets lost. CIOs have figured out how to deal with that on a laptop, but they're having to react to now, how do I deal with that, for a smaller form factor device. So the CIOs are looking at it and saying, okay, I got a problem, I got to get my arms around this, and the business people are looking at it and saying, I have an opportunity, to go drive some other change in how I do my business day to day that these sorts of capabilities are best suited to do. So it's sort of the convergence of a lot of different things finally coming together. Well, in terms of the challenges that companies are wrestling with in this area, I think part of it is just, the ecosystem around mobile has become much more complex with a whole bunch of churn in it. And players that traditionally played one role, like carriers and being the wireless providers, are moving into new roles to try to move up the value chain in terms of offering other services or managed services, for example. So I think there's a lot of how do I navigate through all the churn? You've got a lot of small companies, small startups piling in, going after niche pieces of the puzzles. And so part of the challenge is just, navigating the ecosystem still. A second challenge is thinking about, trying to make some guesses about sort of what are the right bets to place in terms of which technologies? Is it, for example, on the device side, is it a Symbian device or a Windows Mobile device? In terms of the platform, do I go with an end-to-end provider, or do I wait for the big guys like SAP and Oracle to evolve their mobile capabilities? So I think a lot of it is just navigating that ecosystem and trying to think about where to place the bets. Well, in terms of ways to deal with some of this, some of these challenges, I think there are a class of software providers out there that are providing end-to-end platforms, and even a handful of the carriers are sort of getting this picture too. They're trying to provide an end-to-end platform as a capability, and I think that will help. That will help immensely, because I may be sacrificing some capabilities around the periphery, but at least having sort of the core mainstream set of capabilities that allows these applications to be built, deployed, managed in a relatively straightforward manner. I think that will be useful. There will always be additional things that you want to do that those platforms are unable to do at this point. And then it's just sort of the cost-benefit trade-off. Do I go get another technology piece to plug in and extend the platform to deal with that? So I think finding those platform providers and working with those platform providers that get that end-to-end picture is certainly a way to deal with it. There's also a space, I think, for the systems integrators to step up in general in terms of offering managed services capabilities themselves. Another phenomenon I'm seeing is that enterprises are starting to want to buy this as a service, as opposed to spending millions of dollars to go build a set of capabilities that run in their data center, on their servers, managed by them. They want to get into a space where they're paying X dollars per device per month for a set of capabilities. And that's another way to sort of move the complexity off of the client, into some other part of the ecosystem that frankly might be in a better position to deal with it. Well, I think as we project, 4, 5, 6 years down the road, we won't be talking about enterprise mobility the way we are today. The continued evolution will happen with additional capabilities being built into the devices, the network speeds continuing to get faster, and the big technology providers, Microsoft and SAP and Oracle and folks like that, will continue to evolve their own capabilities. So I think it'll be much like how we moved from desktop to laptops. There was a whole bunch of talk at first, and then as time went on, it didn't really matter anymore. I think we'll see that sort of change transpire in the mobile space. Couple that with, I think we'll see much more around sensor technology and other widespread mechanisms to sort of capture some of that information as well as play it back for people no matter where they are. So it's those sorts of changes, I think. Well, I think first and foremost, a key takeaway is it's time to stop waiting. Just about anything you want to do with mobile technologies can be done today. So I think we've hit that point where it doesn't make sense to wait for the network speeds, to wait for the device capabilities to catch up, to wait for some piece of software to show up. There are tons of business benefits available to go after today. And, even if a company is in the situation of changing some of their back-end systems, don't wait. Go after those business benefits now. Deploy mobile technologies. You can change out your back ends and keep the mobile front ends largely static. It gives you a bit of an insulating factor from some of the churn on a back end basis. So I think that's the first thing I would think about is just go after it now. I think the second thing is there still are infrastructure issues that need to be dealt with around security and device management and that sort of stuff. And those spaces are being filled by sort of non-traditional, smaller, second-tier, third-tier technology providers. The big guys, the Tivolis, the OpenViews, the CA Unicenters of the world will continue to evolve their capabilities. But I think the risk is such that companies ought to do some things to get their arms around sort of the infrastructure issues sooner rather than later, and then continue to evolve along with the big guys. And then the third thing, really, I think, is to look across the organization and think about where are the other spaces where I can apply some of these capabilities to really drive business value, because there are some obvious ones, but there are also some non-obvious ones that are very much worth going after and can be achieved with the current set of capabilities in the ecosystem. So.